It's now or never. 4 match days are behind us and there are only 2 more to go. We have our first batch of eliminated teams and some that look poised to make the round of 16, but it'd be a massive mistake to take your foot off the gas right now. Which is why here in Rank Talks Bowl we're gonna predict all games in match day 5 of the Copa Libertadores 2025. Botafogo tried their best to disappoint me once again, but they were lucky that their opponent was a bit bobo. In their visit to Venezuela, El Fogao took the lead in the 22nd minute thanks to Vitinho. They could have made it 2-0 before the end of the half, but Igor Jesus and Vitinho forced a great double save from Carabobo's goalkeeper, Lucas Bruera. In the second half, not much was going on, until out of nowhere, Carabobo found an equalizer through a corner in the 76th minute. Panic set in for Botafogo, and in their desperation, Carabobo even had chances to win the game in the counter-attack. But the hero in stoppage time would be Cuyabano, who scored to give Botafogo a massive win. Now they play at home against Estudiantes, who went over to Chile and absolutely annihilated La U. In the last video I said that Estudiantes were nowhere near the level they once showed, and well, this is the level I was referring to. The game was over by half-time. The goals from Palacios, Ascasibar and Carrillo made any attempt of a comeback useless. Great recovery from the Argentinian team, and playing like this they can definitely trouble Botafogo. I just don't know if they'll be consistent enough with their level, which is why I will predict this game to end in a draw. U de Chile were an absolute disaster. Playing at home against Estudiantes, they were defensively shambolic, which explains why they conceded 3 in the first half. And in the second, their attack was so toothless that they could not score a goal of their own. With this, they lose the strong grip that they had on this group. Luckily for them, they can get back on track as now they play at home against Carabobo, who managed to honor their name by losing to Botafogo twice in the same fashion. Playing a very decent game, this time conceding a goal but finding an equalizer with a set-piece goal from Leonardo Aponte, only to concede again in stoppage time to lose yet another game. I've been getting tired of missing in these predictions, which is why I hope that La U won't disappoint me again and they will win at home against Carabobo. Universitario could not get over the finish line against Independiente del Valle. The Peruvians had the initiative early on, but they didn't create a single clear chance. And it instead was IDV who found a window with a throw-in into the box that was found by Espinelli right in front of goal to score and put the Ecuadorians ahead. However, Universitario responded quickly. After a great save from Guido Villa on the free kick from Edison Flores, Jose Carabalí scored from the rebound to put the equalizer. The second half was pretty uneventful, until the 92nd minute where after a rebound from a corner, Universitario found the late winner, which was disallowed because apparently the ball exited through the goal line, but we never really got to see a proper replay. Controversial draw for Universitario, who now have to host Barcelona. Segundo Castillo may have showed up as a leopard, but his players looked like scared little kittens on the pitch against River Plate. 6 minutes in, their back line was exposed by Driussi, who scored to put the Argentinians on the lead. 6 minutes in, their back line was exposed by Driussi, who opened the score for the Argentinians. They did find an equalizer thanks to a great header from Octavio Rivero, but only 10 minutes later, Facundo Colidio exploited Barcelona's defense once again to pull River ahead. Early in the second half, they conceded a third to wonderkid Franco Mastantuono. However, in the very next play, Castillo squared a ball into the middle for Corozo, who missed his shot, but luckily for him, Martinez Cuarta was in the way to score the own goal that made the game 2-3. Being only 1 goal behind, however, Barcelona created no more threat, and so they lose yet another game at home. After a strong start, El Ídolo has taken a massive dip in form and I feel like I just cannot trust them anymore. Which is why I will predict that Universitario will beat them in Lima. River Plate continued their winning streak as they beat Barcelona in Ecuador. Early on, Driussi, with a great first touch and a better finish, put El Millonario ahead, and even when Barcelona equalized, they kept attacking and quickly Colidio made it 2-1. In the second half, Borja found a great assist for Mastantuono to get a third, but things seemed to get dicey as Barcelona pulled one back thanks to an own goal by Martinez Cuarta. However, River was able to control the game and not allow Barcelona any more opportunities, and they take all 3 points to Buenos Aires, where they'll receive Independiente del Valle. IDV did well early on against Universitario, keeping them at bay and capitalizing on the first chance they got. A throw-in that landed at the feet of Espinelli to put them 1-0 up. But after that they relaxed, the Peruvians equalized and they even had chances to win it. Either way, IDV was able to defend and get the point, but now traveling away to the Estadio Monumental will be very tough, especially looking at the form that River is currently in, which is why I will predict the Argentinians to get the win. Flamengo failed to take revenge in Argentina against Central Córdoba. They started off well. 10 minutes in, Georgian de Arrascaeta found some space on the left and fired a powerful shot that put the Brazilians ahead. De Arrascaeta had the chance to make it 2-0 in a counter-attack, but his shot went straight to the keeper's hands. And from there, Central began to grow into the game, forcing good saves from Rossi before finding an equalizer in the second half. Not much else happened after that, and this result means that Flamengo has to win their next game at home against Liga de Quito. Had the perfect start against Deportivo Táchira, with Alzugaray and Arce both scoring within the first 20 minutes. However, the second goal from Arce was scored while a player from Liga was down on the ground, which sparked a huge brawl inside the pitch, which ended with right winger Ramirez being sent off for the Ecuadorian side. From there, Táchira dominated, but they couldn't concrete their chances, unlike Liga de Quito, who only needed one good chance in the second half for Arce to appear again and make it 3-0. Táchira would add a bit of suspense to the match by scoring 2 late goals, but in the end, Liga de Quito claimed all 3 points on the road. And they really needed them, because now traveling away to the Maracanã is gonna be hell on earth. Their goalkeeper Valle had a superb performance, and if he can replicate that, Flamengo are gonna have a tough time scoring. But one way or another, I see El Mengao getting the job done in this game. Guys, Deportivo Táchira just have to be the most cursed team on the planet. They went 2-0 down early on against Liga de Quito, but after Ramirez was sent off, they used the man advantage to create a plethora of chances. However, the difficult part was scoring them, as Gonzalo Valle was having a fantastic night in goal, and on top of that, the finishing for the Venezuelans was atrocious. In the second half, Liga scored a third, which seemed to put the game out of reach. However, in the 68th minute, Táchira finally found the back of the net thanks to Nelson Fernandez. Thanks to Nelson Hernandez. They tried desperately to get one more, but it wouldn't come until the 95th minute when Brian Castillo scored off a rebound, and so they didn't have time for an equalizer, and instead they had time to get one of their own players sent off. Now they play at home against Central Córdoba, who had to play against their adopted sons Flamengo once more. The Argentinians were down on the score early on after a great strike from De Arrascaeta, but after the shaky start they began to look more threatening until the 61st minute when a header from Gaston Verón made it 1-1. Huge point for Central, and if they can validate that result by getting a win away to Deportivo Táchira, which I think they will get, they will be poised to make the round of 16. Alianza Lima looked like the Alianza of old against Sao Paulo. They had an amazing start, creating many opportunities that they weren't able to score until the 20th minute when they gassed out, allowing Sao Paulo to regain control and eventually score through André in the 35th minute. Alianza went on the offense and proposed a back and forth game in the second half, but once again their opportunities fell flat, and one defensive mistake forced Renzo Garcés to foul Lucas Moura as he was charging into a counter-attack, which earned the Peruvian a red card. Being a man down, Alianza lost hope, and André managed to score a second at the death. And it's life or death for Alianza as they have to visit Talleres. who looked as dull as ever at home against Libertad. There were no highlights in the first half, and in the second they were lucky that the Paraguayans couldn't hit the target. Ortegoza had the winner for Talleres in the 90th minute, but his shot was stopped by Morinigo, and so the 0-0 draw means that Talleres is in need of a miracle. And I think that Talleres should be able to beat somebody at some point, but I just cannot see it happening. They look so horrible, and even at home against Alianza Lima, I believe that this will be a draw. Libertad picked up a crucial point away in Argentina. Talleres looked as toothless as ever, and this allowed the Paraguayan team to defend with ease. In the 82nd minute, Espinosa had a chance to find a goal, but in shocking fashion he missed the target. In the end, Libertad had to rely on their goalkeeper Morinigo to bail them out, but they managed to get the job done. Now they gotta visit Sao Paulo, who resisted the attacks from Alianza Lima, and once they got a hold of the ball, they looked like the better team, until André gave them the lead 10 minutes away from the end of the half. The game was end-to-end with both teams creating chances until Lucas Moura was running towards the box with lots of space, and Garcés fouled him, which earned him a red card. With the man advantage, Sao Paulo was able to control and kill the game with a second goal from André near the end. And now, even though Libertad looks solid, Sao Paulo is simply a super clinical team, and so in the Morumbi, I predict that the win will go over to the Brazilians. When Racing play to their strength and with their full team, they look like the best team in the continent. They proved this once again, traveling away to Colombia and putting 4 past Atlético Bucaramanga. In a counter only 4 minutes in, Adrián Martínez was able to fire a shot which was blocked, but he took the rebound to give Racing the lead early on. Racing continued to create opportunities, but while the first half was about the quantity, the second was about the quality. As from only 4 shots, they were able to create 3 more goals. First with a shot from outside the box by Solari, then a header from Sosa, and in stoppage time a counter-attack with Barrios. 4-0, and now the Argentinians play at home against Colo-Colo, who were shafted 4-0 themselves against Fortaleza. Away in Brazil, I had a feeling that the heated atmosphere that came from their first encounter would play against them, but I had no idea that it would be this bad. Defensively, they were disastrous, especially for that third goal, where Saldivia and Cortés combined to serve Daverson the goal on a silver platter. And while the Chileans created a few chances, it was not nearly enough. And in Buenos Aires, I think that Colo-Colo will seal their elimination, as the win will go over to Racing Club. Fortaleza played like I was expecting of them from the start. Their big names finally showed up against Colo-Colo for a much needed win. First it was Breno Lopez with a great shot from a tight angle to give Fortaleza the lead in the 25th minute. Only 5 minutes later, a perfectly squared shot from outside the box by Marinho, and 10 minutes after that, a defensive blunder allows Daverson to score a tap-in. And our favorite striker even had time for one more of his antics. Before the end of the game, Lucero got to score against his former club to make it 4-0. And 4-0 was also by how much their opponents, Atlético Bucaramanga, lost by last week. At home against Racing, I was expecting a close game, but they didn't even last 5 minutes before conceding. Bucaramanga had the ball but no creativity. It was a reality check for a team that not too long ago was top of the group and now sitting third after being smacked around by the Copa Sudamericana champions. And now away to Brazil, I fail to see how it can get any better. With Fortaleza in much better form, I will predict them to win. Hipsters, sit back down because Bahia got taught a history lesson and they were humbled at home by Nacional. The first half was back and forth with Bahia having more possession and shots, but Nacional being more threatening with their direct play. The second half ignited right away when Sean Lucas gave Bahia the lead, but this was the last we would see from the home team, as only 10 minutes later Lucas Morales would score from a corner before Diente Lopez turned the game around for the Uruguayans with a wonderful counter-attack. Bahia tried as they could, but in the end their efforts were useless and they ended up conceding a third on the break again. Disappointment for them, but they are still in it, and now they travel away to Colombia to play against Atlético Nacional, who I said look like a different team at home, and they really do. They were effective with their chances and that was all it took for them to beat Internacional. First, Viveros scored from the left with a great shot in the 39th minute. In the second half, Billy Arce on the break made it 2-0. And while Alan Patrick was able to claw one back for Inter with a penalty, Viveros would appear again to kill off the game in stoppage time. 3-1, and playing like this, I think that Atlético Nacional should have no trouble beating Bahia at home. Nacional, remember that they are 3-time Copa Libertadores champion and they found their first win in this group. Away to Bahia, they went down in the score early into the second half, but after that they took out their fighting spirit to score 3 unanswered. First, Lucas Morales from a corner, then Diente Lopez on the break after being assisted by Villalba, and in the 86th minute, Villalba once again with another assist, this time for Millán, to make it 3-1 and give the Uruguayans 3 massive points. Now they have to play at home against Internacional, who suffered away to Colombia against Atlético Nacional. The difference in this game was in the finishing. Viveros and Arce could finish the chances that Luca and Wesley could not. Alan Patrick got himself another goal, but it didn't matter after they ended up losing 3-1 on the road. Now Nacional are coming high on spirits, and I think that with the pressure on and playing at home, this game will go the way of the Uruguayans to put some suspense in this group. Cerro Porteño has to be the team that I feel for the most in this Copa Libertadores. Against Palmeiras at home, they had the chances, but not the finishing, and their initiative would come back to bite them, as near the end of the first half, Estevao would score a wonderful free kick to silence La Nueva Olla. The second half was more of the same, with Cerro slowly but surely gassing out and Palmeiras looking more and more threatening until Vitor Roque killed the game near the end. 2-0 defeat for Cerro, who now have to travel away to Lima to play against Sporting Cristal, who beat the Altitude Merchants in a game where after their striker Carterucho gave them the lead 5 minutes in, they kinda fell asleep at the wheel and allowed Bolívar to create chances. They were lucky Romero and Melgar were having an off day. In the second half, Cauterucho scored again to make it 2-0, and once again, Bolívar began to play better after conceding. But the Bolivians were simply not on their day, and despite another golazo by Henry Vaca to pull one back, Sporting Cristal still got the win and each closer to the qualifying spots. And now this will be an intense game. Cerro Porteño has looked like the better team, but Sporting Cristal has looked more clinical. It will be a close one, and in the end, I believe that it will end in a draw. Palmeiras continue with their perfect record in this group as they beat Cerro Porteño on the road. The Brazilians showcased their superior talent by being more effective than their opponents, with Estevao setting the game on fire by scoring a wonderful free kick before the end of the half. Vitor Roque was having a rough game, and even then he managed to find a goal of his own to round out the 2-0 win near the end. Now they play at home against Bolívar, who once again showcased their weakness playing on the road against Sporting Cristal. They began losing very early on, and despite creating some good chances, their strikers were just super off. They were never able to punish the Peruvians, who got a second goal in the second half. Henry Vaca tried to be the hero with yet another goal from outside the box, but there is only so much he can do for this team. Bolívar lose once again, and it seems like their streak of making the knockouts might come to an end, especially now that they have to travel away to Palmeiras, a place where they've been destroyed before, and if they are not careful, it could very well happen again. Either way, the win here will go to El Verdao. Peñarol managed to break the juju of San Antonio and get a huge win in Bolivia. After a pretty uneventful first half, Peñarol showed up in the second, and who else but Leo Fernandez to get yet another assist, this time for Maxi Silvera to get the first goal of the night. From there, the Uruguayans controlled the match and put the game out of reach by scoring 2 more goals in stoppage time. First, Lucas Hernandez, who funnily enough also plays at left back, and then Maxi Silvera once again to round up the 3-0 win. Now Peñarol has to host Olimpia, who played a pretty boring game away to Vélez. They went down on the score when Maher Carrizo scored from a counter-attack for the Argentinians. But after that, Vélez took their foot off the gas and didn't take advantage of the chances they had to kill off the game, which allowed Olimpia to get a sloppy equalizer in stoppage time thanks to Hugo Fernandez. But playing like that again, I don't think they will be so lucky. The win here will go to Peñarol. Bulo Bulo finally ran out of black magic. It was bound to happen that their lack of creativity, their poor defensive cohesion, and their overall inferior quality caught up to them. At home against Peñarol they created nothing, and if it took the Uruguayans 75 minutes to score, it was because they respected the Bolivian side way too much. After the first goal, the second and third went by in a flash, and now Bulo Bulo find themselves in a very tough spot with 2 more games on the road, starting in Buenos Aires against Vélez, who let go of a massive opportunity at home against Olimpia. In a first half lacking in chances, the difference maker was 19-year-old Maher Carrizo, who, assisted by Piscini, continues the streak of wonder kids carrying Vélez this campaign. The second half continued as boring as the first, but in the 82nd minute Vélez had the chance to double the lead, but Thiago Silveiro shot straight at the keeper and kept Olimpia in the game. And they took that chance. In stoppage time, a sloppy play found Hugo Fernandez through on goal to score the equalizer for Olimpia. Vélez missed the chance to put some distance between them and their competitors, but I think that at home they will beat San Antonio and be one step closer to the round of 16. And this is how my predictions are going. I hate to break it to you guys, but your boy keeps sinking lower and lower, as again I only got 6 correct predictions and 10 incorrect, bringing the total score to 28 correct predictions and 36 incorrect. At this point I just hope I have enough to end in the positives. Last year's record is looking tough to beat. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Sorry for the lighting, like it's getting real dark here, but I had to record this right now. If you liked the video, please like it, comment down below your thoughts and subscribe to not miss out on any more Copa Libertadores content. I'll be seeing you all next time.